Welcome to MGF Radio, the podcast which aims to separate PTs from the herd and from the stigma.
So this is something I've wanted to do for a very long time, and that's a recording as an inform of a podcast. And working with Revival Fit just a couple of months ago really motivated me, gave me that push to finally do this. So it's been a long time in the making, and it's amazing to be able to express myself on a platform where individuals will listen in and can hopefully take something from what I have to say and what some of my guests have to say. So ultimately, I really hope that this can bring you some value, and I hope you're as excited as I am for the topics that we'll be discussing, the guests I'll be having on board, and in the long term, who knows where this could go. So it's really exciting times ahead. So just a little bit about myself to begin with. My name is Michael Garcia, and I am a 24-year-old Melburnian, so I'm from Melbourne, Australia, and I am the sole operator of MGF Nutrition and Training, and have been for over the past 18 months. So over 18 months, I should say. I'll be bringing some individuals on board with me, including my brother James Garcia, in the coming months, although as it stands currently, it's just me. I've been working in this industry for approximately 2 years as a personal trainer and nutritionist, bachelor qualified. And prior to this, I was working as a food technologist for Coles, as well as working multiple retail positions. I've been training for approximately 6 years, and it's something that I really love to do, something which has played a big part in my life. And as a result of my career choice, it's led me into competing at the IFBB Classic in Bendigo this August. So I'm currently 11 weeks out from competition and excited for what's to come. The comp has been challenging, but it's taught me a lot about myself and allowed me to develop as a person. So without further ado, let's get into this first recording, this first episode. So today I'm going to just go over my fitness journey, my journey as a health and fitness professional, and hopefully it can motivate a few of you to take the same leap that I did, and learn a little bit about my struggles, where I came from, and hopefully some of you can relate. It's a bit of a light topic to begin with, but I thought it's best you know exactly what I'm about before I get into the depths of it, and into the deeper topics and with some more complex guests. So, how did I got into fitness? So, I got into fitness. I probably started training when I was about 15, and that was because of my dad. So, back when I was 15, obviously everyone wanted to be big and jacked and shredded, but I didn't really know much about it. Dad always went to the gym. Dad loved it. So he really encouraged that. I guess it was more something to do together. And he'd take me in 2 to 4 times a week at the local YMCA, which was probably under a kilometre away from my house. And I was actually signed up as an over 18s member, even though I was 15, because we happened to know one of the reception staff, so that worked out pretty good. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to train with him of the evening. So yeah, what that would typically consist of is going in, he'd smash the fuck out of me. I wouldn't be able to move for 3 days, so we'd have to have another 3 days off gym. But yeah, and nonetheless, that's probably where the foundation was laid. In my younger days, I was never a very big person. I think at this point I would have been only 50 kilos at 170 centimeters. I did play football. I was quite a weak footballer. I wasn't a great footballer. I was never very athletic. It just wasn't me. Sports weren't for me. Always wanted them to be, but they didn't seem to be. So that's where gym played an important part. And then years 9 to 11, I did play sports. So I would have been around 15 to 17 years old. And that's when I was going to the gym, but I didn't really see many results. And as a result, I did cop a bit of flack from other individuals at my school. And I will say that did motivate me to keep going, although the results didn't follow, unfortunately. So in this period, it wasn't something I really took seriously. It wasn't something I really saw myself doing, but it was just something that was there. And then when Dad sort of became a little bit lazier, did his knee, had a couple of injuries, I sort of dropped straight off. But nonetheless, had a couple of friends that were into it as well, so not long after that, we started going together, and then that's when the passion really ignited. And that would have been about year 12, would have been 17, 18 at this point. I had a friend named Ryan who was very into fitness, and he was very into Ziz. Who anyone who's aware of him, rest in peace now. Um, Not Ryan, Ziz, that is. Um, and that played a prime motivator in me getting into it, because it was sort of like, oh, train, get girls, blah blah blah. Um, but little did I know that I'd love it so much, and that I could make such great change with my body when I applied adequate nutrition and disciplined training. So that's when things started to get a little bit exciting in year 12, and I started to really enjoy it. And I remember getting super shredded for schoolies, which is like our vacation at the end of completing high school. And felt like the world was my oyster. I remember it was just an amazing feeling back then. The gym had like a really good, it's like an optimistic vibe. It's like you conquer the gym and you've conquered life. And that was, as naive as it is, it was awesome, because nothing else mattered in that moment. You didn't have your career to worry about, and for a short period, but even have university or studies to worry about over the summer break. So that got really cool. That was a really cool period, even though I was so young. So heading to university, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do when I finished year 12. I discussed like physiotherapist, I discussed engineering. I even discussed trade work, I think, at one point. But at the end of it, I sort of just said to myself, I want to be, I want to follow the health and fitness, go down the health and fitness route. I don't want to be a personal trainer, because back then, personal trainers, if you spoke about being a personal trainer, it's like, oh, that's not a career. And to be honest, I thought this as well for a very long time. So I'm like, oh, I'll do dietetics. Um, Unfortunately, I fell short of dietetics just, I think it was by like 1 or 2 ATAR points. So I ended up doing human nutrition with biochemistry components. Um, Fast forward through my degree, whole degree, had no idea what I wanted to do when I finished. But all I knew is I loved training, I loved nutrition, I loved coaching. Um, and that's something that didn't really change throughout my entire degree. I probably prioritized my fitness over my degree at most points. So get to the end of the university, working at a bottle shop, working at the bottle shop 30 hours a week, um, and working pretty closely. This brings me into another one of my main a person who went to my life who really motivated me, and that was my friend Mark. So I'm gonna rewind a little bit. So one night we were out clubbing, and having a few drinks, getting drunk. Really, we were probably 19 years old, 20. I would have been 20. And I met this guy Mark, who was really into health and fitness, as much as I was, which is awesome. So we went on, had a few drinks together, had a chat, had a laugh. About a week later, we realized we actually worked next door to each other. So I worked at the bottle shop, and he worked at the pizza store next door. So we got to know each other a little bit better, and we became really close and really bonded over health and fitness. And then, lo and behold, we started training together. And Mark's mindset back then was, it was on another level. Like, he just loved training. He wanted to make something of himself in that industry, um, and he was sure of it, and he was sure that I could as well. So after spending more and more time with him, I sort of eventually got in my head, I want to make something of myself in this fitness industry. Um, I really want to do it. And I remember he soon went on to be a personal trainer. Um, and not long after, actually, now he's working in a completely different industry. So it was something that he didn't see himself doing long term. But for me, I stuck at that, because it just stuck in my head. Like, I just knew that was what my calling was. Um, and we still stay close. We're still friends today. But then, so anyway, fast forward a little bit. Working at the bottle shop, had no idea what I wanted to do when I finished university. So I thought, let's do my personal training certificates. I got my personal training certificates, well, applied for them, got them done, started working as a coach, had a couple of clients, went in with this approach. It's like, oh, get huge, get big, and everyone want to train with you. So I tried to do that, and soon I realized that no one gave a fuck. Um, no one wanted to train me just because I could lift heavy, or just because I had muscles, or just because I was this hardcore bodybuilder. If anything, people thought I was a wanker, which was fine, because I was. So soon after that, um, I continued working reception at a local gym while working at the bottle shop. So I had 2 jobs at this point, with no idea of what I wanted to do, because this little taste of personal training and realizing how difficult it was to get clientele, to get people to take you seriously, it put me off. Like, I realized, nah, this isn't what I want to do. Well, I thought. So I seek full-time work. And that's when I got into food product development. So I got a role as a food product development technologist at Coles. So what that is you do product packaging, you do recipes, you do formulation, ingredient sourcing, etc. So it gave me a pretty good understanding of nutrition and application of that. But in saying that, it was far from that. So I hope that makes sense. It may not. But anyway, so started working as a food technologist. First month, full time, great money, or seemed like great money. This is awesome. Loving it. Blah blah blah. Thought it was the best. Fast forward about another month, so I was probably 2 months into the role, and I realized how much I hated it, and that's when it all kicked in. Like, it was just miserable. It was depressing. It wasn't for me. Not by any means was it for me. So that's when I'm like, I have to make a change. But how the fuck do you make a change? What else am I going to do? That was a question. I can't be a PT. That's what I thought anyway. So from there, I spun into a pretty bad down period of my life where I had no idea what I wanted to do. I even considered being a manager at Liquorland at that point. But I sort of pushed through because that's just what you do. You sort of get sidetracked. You think of the money, you think of the safety, you think of all those things. And yeah, things sort of just got worse from there. But then we fast forward another year, and things were probably at my lowest point emotionally and physically. I was out of shape. I was not looking good. I was not feeling good. I was feeling like shit. And I had a couple of people ask me for nutrition planning. And I'm like, nah, man, I don't do that shit anymore. Like, fuck that. I work a job. Like, I don't know. And they're like, nah, man, we really want you to do it for us. So I did that. And I'm pretty sure I did it free of charge, just to help these people out. It was a couple of mates. But then I thought a bit later, I'm like, oh, why don't I advertise for, I put an ad on Gumtree for personal training and just see if I can get any clients, considering I'm registered and insured. I've done all these certs, something I enjoy, and it could be extra cash on the side, because at the time I wanted some extra cash because I was going to Europe and I wasn't really happy with my salary. So I did that, and then get a call. So first client, his name's Matthew Chick. And I'm like, okay, back and forth messaging this guy, not responsive. I'm like, oh well, not meant to be. Fast forward a couple more days, and I'm like, message this guy again, message him again. He replies, back and forth again, stops replying. I'm like, sweet, no worries. Then another couple of days pass, and I'm like, let's just message this guy and tell him I'm going to call him. So I message him and tell him I'm going to call him. So I call him, and he wasn't enthused to talk to me at all. You could tell he wanted a personal trainer, but he wasn't sure. But I recognized the voice, and it was actually a client of mine that I met at Liquorland. He was a crazy Bomber supporter, a fanatic. And I think when I realized who it was. I'm like, you know who I am, man. I used to work at the Liquorland. My name's Michael. I'm the Essendon supporter. He knew exactly who I was, and as soon as I said that, he asked his next question was, when can we catch up for our first session? So we did that, and believe it or not, me and Matt still train today. He's down about 35 kilos, so he's done really well. And he was my first client, 3 sessions a week he was doing, and he was probably the only client I had for about 2 months, but it was enough to make a start. So then I went to Europe for about 4 weeks with my friends, and I'm not going to say I had a bad time, but compared to them, I had a fucking terrible time. I didn't have fun because all I could think about was coming home to the job that I fucking hated, a lack of career, a lack of ambition, and really a sad life. That's what I felt like it was at the time. So came back, I realized I need to do something about this. So I went full speed ahead with my personal training business, not holding nothing back. That's what I decided to do. I decided to give everything I could. And so I'd get home from work at night. I'd be on it. I'd be on paperwork. I'd be on posts. I'd be on my Instagram, like posting, making posts. Because yeah, I made an Instagram, and which is Mahogazia Fitness at the moment, of course. So I'd be making posts every day. I'd be bringing up marketing material. At work, I'd be on my computers, meant to be doing my food technology stuff, and I'd be working on content for my work. I'd get caught multiple times by my bosses, and for some reason they just let it off. It's like they knew I was going. Um, and then I think it would have come to about September. And I'd actually inquired with Eugene Teo to do one of his courses while I was overseas. It was actually on a Croatian toilet when I did that, but the price was too much. So I was like, no, I won't do it. And then it would have been early September, and he emailed me, and he's like, hey man, if you're still interested, I can do this course at the early bird price because you emailed so early. And at that point, I'm like, fuck it, let's do this. So I booked it in, went down to this course. All these people they're all pretty. I'm not going to say sought after, but pretty well established personal trainers. And I was probably the only one with the least clientele. But then I found myself asking the most questions. I found myself with a really good understanding of things. I found myself being asked questions by those around me who had been in the industry for a long time, which was strange to me because I was one with no experience. I was the one that this was a hobby, like basically. And then I remember what made me realize that maybe I did have some idea of what I could do in this industry was when one of the guys next to me who had been working 3 years in the industry and actually told me what he was earning, and what he was earning was probably 4 times what I was earning, whether he was telling the truth or not, who knows? But yeah, it was probably 4 times what I was earning at the time. He was copying my work. And he was saying, man, can I take all your notes? Your notes are awesome. And then he was asking me question after question after question. And I'm like, if this guy can do this well, who's to say I can't? Considering that he's coming to me for help. So that was really the point at which I'm like, nah, I'm doing this. I'm doing this full time. So I went. So fast forward another couple of months, kept pushing. Clientele was building slowly. Probably was at 10 to 15 sessions by now. I was working my 9 to 5, so that was 7:30 in the morning till 6 at night. From the time I left in the morning till the time I got home, I'd get home at night. I'd go to clients. I'd do paperwork. I'd do programs. I'd do marketing material. I'd do posts. And yeah, it'd be a full day. And then I remember it was probably a Thursday night, and I noticed Ben Kant on Instagram, and Ben Kant, Benny Lifts, for anyone who wants to check him out. He was offering a 3-hour workshop on a Friday. And I'm like, fuck, man, I got work tomorrow. I'm like, oh, fuck, I'll take it off. Check my sick days. No sick days left. What am I going to do? So what do? I go to bed. I think, nah, fuck, I'm not doing it. I wake up at 11:30. I don't wake up. I just fucking turn to my phone, punch my credit card details in, buy this course. 3-hour workshop, call in sick to work the next morning. I think I even turned my phone off that because I didn't want to see my boss's reply. So the seminar it was only a 3-hour workshop, but we went over everything, and that was when I really ignited my passion because I spoke to Ben after it. We had probably an hour chat, and he was really encouraging of what I wanted to do. He was encouraging of my passion and my work ethic, and he said, "What I want you to do is go in on Monday and quit your job." And I'm like, man, I can't do that. And he's like, man, go in and fucking quit your job. So what did I do? I went in on Monday. I didn't quit. I went in on Tuesday. I didn't quit. I went in on Wednesday. I quit. I gave him 4 weeks notice. And that takes me up to Christmas Eve. So that's when the journey really gets interesting because that's when it got really difficult. So I was back into things, going full time, full speed ahead from the start of Jan, which was an exciting time. Trying to get clientele. Who knows how many sessions I was doing at this time, but it wasn't very many. So what I did was I started advertising free sessions, started chasing sessions, started contacting people who I thought would want sessions, started contacting people who could help me get my name out there. So, and that would take me up to about February. So my clientele slowly started to build, but I got a very flaky clientele, especially via Facebook marketing. Facebook marketing is where marketplaces are where you'll get the worst possible leads. I had people not pay me for sessions. I had people block me off Messenger after sessions. I had people request free sessions.
So from this point, I'd I'd accommodate these people. I'd accommodate these requests which were less than ideal because I wanted the clientele. And to get that clientele, sometimes you got to put yourself out there. You got to, I guess, to an extent, devalue yourself, and that's pretty much what I did. So from there, things started to get a little bit more stable. The thing was, I was giving up times I didn't want to be giving up. So I was doing super early sessions. I was doing sessions on Saturday nights. I was doing sessions on Sunday nights. They're three things I generally don't do today. So morning sessions I avoid unless the client really needs to. Really early morning sessions I don't do. They influence my quality of life as I do work late into the night. Saturday night, Sunday nights, there is no way I do that. Sunday nights I do some online check-ins now, but that's about as far as it goes. So I started accommodating these people. And I remember my worst one was I was in Frankston. And a family member was actually in hospital, and I had sessions back in Melbourne, back in South Morang. Anyone that knows this, Melbourne itself, Frankston's about an hour and a half drive from South Morang. So I had these sessions, and I thought, you know what, I have to get these sessions done. I need to keep this going. So get on the road from Frankston by myself, hour and a half drive, get to the gym. 2 clients in a row I meant to have. I think it was just the 2. Both didn't rock up. The first one didn't even tell me. The second one told me about an hour and a half before, which was obviously too late. So this was just one of the very many things I went through. In that just showed how eager, how, I guess, desperate I was to get things rolling. And there was so many more of these kind of situations, but this was one that really, was it like not a milestone, but it was an important event. I remember the next week, I was pretty discouraged by this, and I thought, fuck this. I was at that point. And I spoke to my friend, he named Ankit, runs a clothing line called Rarefied, just if you want to check it out on Instagram, Rarefied Clothing. Bit of a plug there. And I spoke to him about it, and I said, yeah, it's been a bit quieter, starting to get a little bit quieter, people are dropping off, etc. And he'd been running businesses for years, and he's like, man, that's part of it. I told him where I was at, and he's like, you've been operating 6 months, that's not bad. He's like, not even 6 months if you're not considering the part-time work. And I'm like, you know what, you're right. So I took that advice on board, kept pushing through. And luckily enough for me, that started to pick up. It started to pick up again, things started to get good. This would take me probably up to about maybe June. And this is when things started to get more into full flight, more busier, and where it was pretty respectable, at least in my eyes. Still giving up these unorthodox times though, just to reach a point at which I was confident with the output compared to what I was putting in. So it would have been June by now, like I mentioned, and I think I had Saturday night sessions booked, and I actually missed my best friend's girlfriend's birthday for those Saturday night sessions. And that didn't sit well with him at all, because I'd actually told him I was going, and as a result, I almost did lose my best mate from that. And that was something which, in the end, I was very lucky not to lose. Very lucky to reach an understanding with him much down the line after a period of not talking, and he understood where I was at, but that was just something I almost lost just in trying to establish myself. And it's horrible. If you have to do something like that, like, you got to really weigh up whether it's that important to you, and 2 sessions on a Saturday night is not worth a friendship. Like, a little bit over $100 for friendship, not really worth that at all, obviously. So I think it was at that point where I'm like, fuck, all right, I got to sort this shit out. So come July, that's when things start to really pick up. And come end of July, come August was when I was at my busiest. But the thing was, life happens. Had a few less than desirable events occur, and really began to lose focus. And the thing is, with this kind of industry, you need to be on all the time. People realize they want you, and when you're not on, they know. And I promise you, these people knew. I went through a phase. I just wanted to live. I wanted to get out there. I wanted to do my thing, and I don't regret it because you have to live. But at the same time, if I kept level-headed, I kept my head down during this period, things may be different now, in terms of my business. But you've got to take the good with the bad, and that's what I did. You roll through these tough times. So keep rolling through the lack of focus, probably towards the end of the year, which wasn't great. But what I'm getting at here is you're not always going to be on, you're not always going to be your best, and life's going to get in the way. And sometimes it's okay to allow life to get in the way. You need to put yourself first, and that's exactly what I did. And I was lucky to get through this period without losing a heap of clientele. So as I began to establish, that's when the talk starts to cease. The talk starts to stop for people saying that you think you're not made out for it, but then it starts to turn into he's just a trainer, and that's a stigma which you have to face, a stigma which you have to fight, and to really gain the respect of your peers, which it took a long time to get that. And I'm not going to say meatheads, but the bodybuilder crowd in the gym, that was a crowd who I wouldn't say I didn't have respect from, but they didn't have any interest towards what I was doing, which was fine. It didn't matter. I had an established clientele, and yeah, so it was not a big issue, but it was something I wanted to achieve, was to break into that kind of clientele. And I remember I've posted before, Kurt Otto actually reached out to me for personal training sessions, and I thought that was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. I actually made him wait a little bit because this was in this period where my head wasn't all there. And eventually I messaged him back and said, let's do some training. Got him, started coaching him, got him looking pretty damn good. And that was actually a turning point in my business as well, because that broke the ice for that bodybuilding crowd to seek my services, which was awesome. So from there, I really did break into that kind of market, a more serious level of clientele. Probably a clientele which was desirable for me because it's exciting to me. Because that would be my ideal clientele, because I can put everything that I know into work, and then as well as a health perspective, which I really enjoy as well. So from here, that's when I started to beat that stigma, because it was persistence. It was exhibiting that knowledge. It was exhibiting that I will go above and beyond, and that I had the knowledge to back me. So leading into this year put me in a really good place. And I'm not going to touch much on this year because this year's been relatively consistent, and this year's been relatively steady for me. I've been able to shift a lot of focus towards my coaching, as well as my personal training, and it's been a good journey. I don't have too many drop-offs anymore, although they still do, of course, occur. So I've talked a little bit about my drop-offs and setbacks, but it's important that I do make note that you need to accept these. You need to know, like, this is going to happen. It's something you have to deal with. It's something you have to wear, and you got to keep pushing, because turnover can be high, especially when it reaches these kind of months. Clients do drop off, clients come back. So you do really need to keep on your game. You've got to keep consistent, which is easy if you're passionate about what you do. The work ethic is the most important thing, and what many don't realize when they're beginning personal training is it's a business. It's probably one of the easiest businesses to start. Not many overheads, depending on where you're working at. You don't need much qualification to get started. You don't need to pour much money into it, and there's not much to lose. But that does not mean that you have to take it any less seriously in order to get to where you want to get. And this is probably one of the reasons why many fail. They don't take this seriously enough. It is an operating business, and you need to give it all the attention you would give any kind of business. But on top of this, people aren't willing to put in these hours, go through some of the shit that I've had to go through, and the times where you don't think you can get through it all, but you end up getting through it. That's one important thing. Another one is you need to have a quality support network. For example, the staff and team members at Powerhouse Gym, now South Morang, they are excellent in regards to support. They're great to me, and I really appreciate and respect them for that. So that is one important thing. Another important thing, having a supportive family, supportive partner goes a long way as well. So I'm lucky enough that I have a family who's very supportive of what I do, they're willing to help me, my brother as well, and they're willing to encourage me to do what I want to do. I'm very lucky to have a partner who's passionate about it as well, understanding. Something comes up, if I have to focus on my work, she completely understands when that's the case. I don't get questioned, and it's not a burden because she gets it, which is awesome. If I didn't have that, it would be very hard to be where I am today. It'd be very hard. It's not a great job considering the hours, for finding that kind of balance with relationship and family members, as most do work 9 to 5, as does my partner, as do my parents. And I obviously work shifted towards the night, and I generally have mornings and daytimes off. The next one I'll step on is your focus. You need to focus on your clients. So you need to give them the attention. You need to treat them as if they're your only client to an extent. Not that, but you need to give them your time. And I find if you do focus on yourself too much, if you think you deserve this time out, this, that, which is easy to do because you're working for yourself, you call the shots, that's when things become difficult. I do prioritize my training, I prioritize my food. Obviously, I'm in prep, but I find that balance and I make sure that that doesn't take away from my business. At the end of the day, my business is what's most important to me, as well as obviously my own mental health and well-being, but it's finding that balance. And just because you work for yourself, just because you work flexible hours, does not mean you can take advantage of that, or you should be taking advantage of that. And on top of that, you need to go above and beyond for your clients. There's going to be times where you'll feel like you're underpaid. There's going to be times where you go out of your way when you don't, not that you don't want to, but it's not convenient for you. And if you're not willing to do that, then this is probably not the industry for you, because you're dealing with people who have all kinds of problems, and you learn a lot about people in this industry. People will come to you with personal problems. They will, and you'll have to hear them. You'll have to hear it. You don't have to try to help, but I personally try to offer my share on it and give them some advice on dealing with their issues. Well, obviously it's not professional advice, but just to offer them support, someone to talk to. And I feel like that's important as well, just knowing how to deal with people, and that goes beyond applying nutrition training and lifestyle knowledge and getting results, of course. The biggest mistake I believe that I see, the amount of people who have told me, you should charge more, you should do this, you should do that, you should do packages, you should do a strict cancellation policy. Great, I get it. I'll put your prices up, man. The thing is, you need to realize these people, then you're not, depending on where you're located, you're probably not dealing with extremely wealthy people. You're dealing with normal people like yourself, and it needs to be affordable for them, and a fair deal for you, of course, for the time putting in. Overvaluing yourself, in my opinion, is the easiest way to quickly fall short. You're probably not worth what you think you're worth, in my opinion. Myself, I have a bachelor's degree. I do focus on continuing education, as many people do. Most personal trainers have a certificate 3 and 4 most of the time, which can be completed online. They have no interest in further education, and they still try to charge right on the high end, and then wonder why they can't get clientele. Do not overvalue yourself. People may not know who you are. People didn't know who I was. They may now, but many of my inquiries, they don't. They see my page, they get word of mouth from someone else, they shoot me a message and they say, hey, can we organize something? By overvaluing myself, yeah, it may work in the long term, but it's going to push back that clientele which you need to establish yourself. I'm probably at a point where I could do that if I wanted to, but I try to find that fairness between cost for the client and for the effort that I'm putting in. But when you're starting out, you need to make sure it's very fair, because your goal is getting that clientele coming in and being able to prove to them and those around them that you're capable and you're good at what you do and you can offer value to them. And yeah, at the times where no one knew who I was, they could have gone to any trainer. So if I put myself on the higher end of a price range, like, what's making them come to me? So I hope you could take something from this. I've kept it relatively short. Um, and I've opened up about a few things which I haven't really spoken about before. But if you have any questions, I do encourage you to shoot me a message. And I'm always happy to have a chat, especially if you're a new individual in the industry and trying to make a name for yourself. Um, Otherwise, I look forward to the next episode. I've got a heap more things to come. Um, so the next episode, I'll be talking about nutrition in the workplace, something which I've given presentations on in the past, based namely desk jobs, just to try to keep healthy, etc. That's going to be episode 2, and from there we'll be taking a few more guests on board. I'll also be launching my apparel range in the coming weeks or months. Hoodies are now available, so I encourage you to direct message me if you are interested, as well as a few other things which are also in the works, although managing time. And currently I'm at 11 weeks out. When this is released, probably be 10 weeks out by now. So I encourage you to follow my journey, and if there's anything you'd love to hear from me or love for me to discuss, let me know and I'm more than happy to. So without further ado, thank you for listening through, and I'll chat to you guys soon.